Alrighty, welcome sixth graders. So today we are going to talk about the Roman Republic. Alright, so really briefly again, here's geography that we talked a lot about in class. Notice how the Greeks have made most of their colonies in the Italian peninsula and along the ocean. That is because they're very powerful sea traders, just as well as Carthage was. You can see that as well. And then we have this new group that we're talking about, the Etruscans. And the Etruscans mainly lived within the Tiber, between the Tiber River and the Po River that's located up here. And a lot of that land is more farmable, a lot better for agriculture than these other areas. And that's more of what the Etruscans focused on. Was they focused more on agriculture than, say, the Greeks and Carthaginians. All right, so to get into our notes for what you're supposed to do in class today. So the first thing we talked about is that the Etruscans take over in Rome. Okay, we don't really know a lot about the Etruscans. We just know that they came in around the 900s BC and that they ruled for quite a long time. But we do know that once the Romans did take over, they adopted a lot of the Etruscan ideas. For instance, a lot of the gods were the same, and that a lot, I think, is because of the connection between the Etruscans and the Greeks. The Greek gods and Roman gods are very similar in what they do. So, there's kind of that link there, as we saw with Egypt and Greece borrowing, or Greeks borrowing Egyptian ideas. We see a lot of this blending of cultures that exist in this area because of how close they live in proximity. So then the next thing is that Rome finally takes over and drives Etruscans out in about 509 BC. And what that does then is that sets up a new form of government in Rome. And they create what's called a republic. And the republic is simply a lot more like our type of democracy, whereas the Greek democracy was more about the elites. The Roman one it's about the elites as well, but more people kind of have a vote in it. And they're able to elect, this republic is able to elect what we call two councils. Okay. Which we'll get to here in a moment. So the most powerful group in the Republic was the Senate, and it made up of 300 patricians. All right, and the patricians, they are they're like they're rich people. They're the members of the wealthy, the upper class family of the Roman Republic. On the other hand, you're going to have the plebeians. All right, and they are more of your ordinary citizens. Okay, so through all of this, they end up creating a government that's run by two councils who share power for a year. So every year, new councils are elected. And the reason they have to is because they don't want to give too much power to one person. They would rather have that power split up amongst different groups and then take care of it that way. And then next, so after, for a while, it's just the patricians who are part of this power struggle, and the plebeians are getting very upset. So to appease them or kind of let them come into the government, they're able to start taking votes and things of that nature, because the patricians knew that they needed the plebeians to run the government. Without the plebeians, then the Roman Republic was going to fall and fall quickly. So finally, we're talking a couple hundred years later, at least one of the councils has to be a plebeian. So that rules and then changed and added into their kind of their constitution, if you would say. And then they also have this thing as a dictator. And so let's say that Rome wanted to go to war with Carthage. Okay, well, let's say one council wanted to agree upon it and the other council didn't. So the dictator, they would elect a dictator, and this dictator would be appointed for 6 months and handle this emergency. All right, so whatever the emergency may be, maybe it's a mass fire that takes place, and the councils don't know kind of what to do. So this dictator is appointed. And do this. Mainly, it was for in times of war. They would appoint a dictator to make all of the decisions because they felt in an emergency situation, one person in charge is better than having multiple people in charge. So this idea takes place until finally Julius Caesar becomes a dictator, but he somehow is able to. We'll talk more about this in class. He's able to kind of grasp this idea of a dictator and hold on to it for a long time, and this drives the republic down and makes it weaker. And that's one of the reasons why he was killed, is because of what he did. And so because of his rule as a dictator, it says in the book, it says, although some elements of the republic remained, Caesar ruled with great power. So in 45 BC, he became the only consul. In 44 BC, he became the dictator for life. Caesar made many important government reforms, but many senators hated the idea that Rome seemed to be once again ruled by a king. And that's not what they wanted. That wasn't the purpose of the republic. It wasn't to be ruled by a single person. It was to be ruled by many. All right. So eventually Caesar gets killed, and after his death, civil war breaks out in Rome and lasts for 13 years. And we have lots of different emperors in that time. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in class. We'll explore Caesar a little bit more and what it all meant.